the types of contracts, the classification of contracts on the basis of performance. This is the third heading on the basis of which the contracts are divided. The first basis was validity. The second basis was formation. And the third is performance. Now, please understand that they both are separate things. What? Formation and performance. You form a contract, it is only half the job done. And then you actually perform it, this completes the contract. I may come to your shop and tell you to deliver me 5 kgs of rice after 2 days, and you accept it. We form a contract. But after 2 days, when you actually deliver the rice to me and when I actually pay you the amount which I am required to pay for the rice, then we can say that the contract has been performed. So, forming of a contract and performing a contract, they both are different things. You can form a contract expressly or impliedly. But how can you perform it? Let's see. The first is executed contracts. What do you mean by executed contracts? Executed contracts mean the contracts which are performed or the contracts which are complete. The contract which have ended. The contracts which have been discharged. Now, what do you mean by all these words? Executed contract is a contract which has been performed, or executed contract is a contract which is complete. Executed contract is a contract which has ended, or executed contract is a discharged contract. What do you mean by all these? All these imply only one thing, that both the parties have done their part of things. Both the parties have performed their promise. Both the parties have done what they had promised. Like in this example, when I come to your store and contract with you to supply me rice after 2 days. So when we are contracting, we are only forming the contract. After 2 days, when you supply me the rice, it will be said that you have performed your part of promise. You have performed your part of contract. And when I pay you for the rice, I can say that I have performed my part of promise. I have performed my part of contract. And when both the parties have performed the contract, both the parties have fulfilled their promise, the contract is said to be executed. Now nothing more remains in the contract to be done. It is complete. It has ended now. It is discharged. It has terminated. Now nothing else remains to be done. There's nothing that the parties can do more in the contract. They contracted for sale and purchase of rice. The rice was delivered. The price was paid. Done. Contract is over. And such a contract where both the parties have performed their side of promise, it's said to be executed. For example, you go to a grocer and ask him to sell you sugar. He gives you sugar and you pay the price for it. Both the parties have performed their side of promise. And when this is done, the contract is considered to be ended. It's over. He gives you sugar, you pay the price, game over. The contract is executed. The next type is executory. Now, what do you mean by executory contract? It is a contract which will be executed in future. It will be performed in future. Now, please bear in mind the tenses here. The earlier contract was executed. That means it has been performed. We are talking about past tense here. That means both the parties have performed. So when it is performed, it is executed, past tense. It is over. Executory, we are talking about future. It is to be performed in future. So a contract which is not executed is executory. Both the parties have not performed their side of promise, I can say that the contract is executory. This contract will be performed in future. That is, when I come to your store and ask you to give me 2 kgs of rice after 2 days, today that contract will be called as executory contract. And after 2 days, if you supply me the rice and if I pay the price, then it will then be called as executed. But today that contract is executory. Why? Because performance from both the ends is pending. So it will be performed in future and thus the contract becomes executory.